Eagles. Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to Birds 365. It's a victory Monday, everybody. The Eagles get the win yesterday in a big way, 37-17. A second half smackdown. Johnny Mac. Birds moved to 5-2 on the season. How you doing on this Monday morning, Johnny Mac?
It's all good. The sun is out. I think it hasn't rained in a month. So, everything's sunny in Philadelphia again. Wonderful. Let's get the bipolar started.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I want to thank BetUS for sponsoring our 2-hour show today. Johnny Mac, I thought that was the Eagles' most complete game of the season. Complimentary football, defense outside of that first drive, I thought really had a good game against Joe Burrow and that, pretty high-powered offense considering some of the talent they have over there. Defense showed up. Offense showed up. Jalen Hurts showed up. I thought it was the most complete game. What say you?
Yeah, certainly not even close this year. I mean, by far their most complete game. And really their most complete game in a long time. You'd have to go back to early last season to see a performance like this. But this looked like the old Eagles, imposing their will on a lesser foe in the second half. And, while the Bengals aren't great, I said it all week. They're okay. They're good. They're a potential playoff team on the back end, and they have an elite quarterback. So this was going to be a significant test, and the Eagles passed it on every level. As you said, aside from that first drive, you can nitpick. They weren't good on third downs defensively, really throughout the game. So that's a little bit of an issue, but you kind of want that stuff as a coach. So you win easily, and then you still have a little bit to correct and complain about and say, we got to get better and use that as the narrative. So, really impressive performance. It's hard to knock this team after a game like that.
No doubt about it. I want to thank everybody for being here this morning and anybody that consumes the show after the fact. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's John McMullen, the #1 Eagles beat reporter in town. We appreciate each and every one of you guys for being here this morning, sharing your thoughts. That's a big win, everybody, for Eagles Nation to get out there and beat a good, formidable opponent with a good quarterback and show that you are turning the page, you are building the blocks, and you are getting closer to that 22 form that we all are coveting and trying to get back to a Super Bowl. Hit that like button, everybody. It is a victory overreaction Monday, which means likes are in order. So smash that like button if you're enjoying the show. Johnny Mac, I think that's the best recipe for the Philadelphia Eagles. And you said it, right? I mean, they played some bully ball just in the sense that they imposed their will on the team, but they didn't abandon the pass. As you mentioned, in the third quarter, the pass is what really gave the Eagles the big lead in that football game. But it felt to me like a balanced attack. Jalen Hurts was as fit. It's funny, John. I said it on the post game show. We were talking about Joe Burrow 80%. How ironic that Jalen Hurts is the one who threw 80% in that game. I thought it was a really good recipe for winning for this football team.
Yeah, I'm cautious on the recipes, the identities, because that's going to change every week, and that's sort of what Nick said after the game, and he keeps saying, and nobody wants to listen or hear it. But as far as and then I talk about balance, and when you win, you tend to be balanced. It takes care of itself. So that has to do with playing well. I'm not concerned about number of throws, number of runs, because that stuff is again week to week, depending on the personality of the game. And each game has a different personality. But if you win and you're up in the fourth quarter, people are going to be happy with the balance, or whatever you want to call it, identity, whatever term you want to use. When you win, people are going to be happy about it because you win.
Right.
And this is the second consecutive week. Think about this. Second consecutive week, the Eagles sort of had the ability of putting all the reserves, emptying the bench like a blowout NBA game. They didn't even do that much in the 2022 season, if you think about it. In fact, one of the criticisms of the Eagles at the time was not getting some of the younger defenders sometimes in games that were maybe um, in hand, and that cost them the next season when they moved on from certain players. Well, now you're getting looks at Will Shipley and looks at Jalix Hunt and looks at Tristan McCullum and getting Sidney Brown back in the game after the long layoff from the ACL. Um, that's how well they've been playing the last 2 weeks. So, when you play like that, the balance and the identity and all, it takes care of itself. But the execution to get to that point is what matters. And the Eagles have been playing at a high level now. Now, 1 week against the Giants, you put that context into it. This is a more um, valuable sort of measuring stick. I think the Cincinnati Bengals, they still think they're a playoff team. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but you certainly with Joe Burrow, you never say never. Um, and this is a valuable measuring stick. Jacksonville next week, they should beat that team. So you're going to have a different sort of thought process. If they play poorly in that game, and even if they win, you're sort of back to Cleveland. Like, what are you doing playing down to your opponent? Things like that. Um, so it's really hard to be consistent in this league, but for 1 week, the Eagles look great.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And they're stacking. I think, the last 3 weeks have been positive signs. Not everything was perfect, but 3 weeks of turnover-free football from Jalen Hurts, John. He's the elite quarterback, or the quarterback of this team. He was elite yesterday, that's for damn sure. But look, we go as far as he's going to take us. And with the way he's been in the last 3 weeks, really after a slower start to the year, he had a lot of turnovers through those first 4 games. 3 weeks, turnover-free. Throwing the ball all over the yard yesterday, a 45-yard throw to Devontae Smith for a touchdown. He was running the ball effectively. This looks a little bit like 22 Jalen Hurts to me, John. You agree?
Yeah, a little bit, but long way to go. I know a lot of people are out there spiking the football. I see some comments, Greg Cosell, he can't handle simple concepts. Where's it today? People never learn. It's a week to week league. Nobody's ever disputed Jalen's ability to throw the deep ball that I know of, because he's one of the best in the NFL. No one's disputed his +1 effect on the offense. If they have, they don't know what they're watching. But there's still some processing things you have to work out and see if it gets better over an extended period of time. I'm interested to see the time to throw numbers when they come out, how quick they were. If they're still well over 3 seconds, I think that's something that's got to be addressed. But he's such a unique player. So I think people can't wrap their heads around him. I've said this pretty much from day one. The NFL sends out to reporters at basically Sunday night notes from the major notes from each game. So if you think about Jalen Hurts, all right, you say, yeah, all right, you look at the numbers and say, good game. And then you start thinking about how he gets to that good game. And here's an indication. He he had 2 rushing touchdowns and a 119.3 passer rating in against the Giants. And he did it again. He's at over 135. Plus he had 3 rushing touchdowns against Cincinnati yesterday. First player in NFL history with multiple rushing touchdowns and a passer rating of over 100 or higher in consecutive games. Think about that.
Yeah, it's pretty unbelievable, man.
They've been doing this for a long time. Then he became the second player in NFL history with 3 rushing touchdowns, a touchdown pass, and a passer rating of 103 or higher. And you got to go back to Greg Landry in 1972 to
Which was
find the
arguable,
only
which
other
might have been a
guy.
different sport in that time.
Yeah, exactly. To find so he's unique. That doesn't mean he's where you want him to be. So spike the football, tremendous player, tremendous game, but is he where you want him to be? If you're being honest with yourself, probably not. But let's see if he can build on this and gain some confidence and get that processing up to where you need it to be.
He certainly is getting closer to that form. Would you at least agree with that,
Oh
John?
yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I think three straight. Because look, I was hard on the quarterback at the start of the year because, like every fan, we know that we go as far as Jalen takes us, like I mentioned. And when he's not playing, his best, you can see that the team is limited and isn't going to win as many games as the fan base would expect. And I think even the owner would expect. So when he plays like that, though, John, I'll put us up against anybody. I really will. I mean, and this is where I think that talented offense shows, where when Jalen plays efficient, good football, there's a good attack. Credit to the coaches. I thought they had a good game plan this week. Now I know you'll point to execution, which is definitely fair, but I did think they put their players in good position this week. And when Jalen plays like that, man, I think we can beat anybody. I mean, you got AJ Devontae out there, you
Yeah.
got weapons all over the field. Jalen plays efficient football with no turnovers. It's hard to beat us. It's a lot coming at you, dude.
Yeah. They're gonna out talent most teams, and they should. And the problem was earlier in the season when they were having some issues. Now they're relatively healthy right now. Some issues on the offensive line, but those guys held up tremendously. Compared to the rest of the league, you see some of the attrition. Guys gone for the season. At least the Eagles' injuries have been, the significant ones have not been season ending. So that's a positive. And they're going to start to out talent people as they have. And then it becomes, all right, we all know what the goal is. So when you frame it from that goal, is this a playoff team? Yes. Unquestionably, barring catastrophic injuries.
Yeah.
Are they a Super Bowl team? I can't picture anybody right now dealing with Detroit, but a lot of things can happen in this league.
It's only
They
week
already
8. I mean,
yeah,
let's see, yeah.
they already lost Aiden Hutchinson, and, they can lose they could lose their quarterback. They could lose Jamar Gibbs, and everything could change. But right now, can they deal with that team? No, absolutely not. So are they where you want them to be? That's up to each individual.
Yeah, but to your point, John, right? I mean, you got to lower your margin of error in this league, and like you just said again, anything can happen. So if the Eagles keep building on this and put themselves in the best position, I don't really see that many contenders in the NFC outside of Detroit. I mean, there's a couple good teams. I'm not saying there's no good teams, but nobody really strikes fear in me outside of Detroit, who, by the way, won 52-14 yesterday. Man, they're a good football team, that Detroit Lions, no doubt. But I think the NFC is absolutely wide open. And when the Birds play like that, I'll put them up against anybody. By the way, let's talk about that defense now. I mean, holy mackerel. What does Vic Fangio do at halftime, John? Or really, in this case, after the first quarter? I mean, we just shut them down, man, on defense.
Yeah, they played well. I was more impressed with the defense in a weird way, which I said yesterday on the post-game show. Except for third downs, they had some troubles, but yeah, I mean, they don't have the all-stars all over the place, and he's starting to build up this chemistry, and everybody's starting to trust what they're trying to do. The communication is so important. They stopped the run, which was number one. I mean, Cincinnati was not effective at all running the football at all. So then you put them in second, third and longs, and they're able to overcome it. But then you can do some different things on the pass rush when you're in those second and third and longs. And, Slay, I mentioned that, told me last week, you got to earn your right to get turnovers. That means you got to be in second. Same thing as sacks. Got to earn your right to rush the passer. Well, but 2nd and 5, you can talk all you want about get to the passer or create turnovers. That's generally now anything can happen. You can have a tip ball, you can do, but you're not in a good position. When do turnovers come? 3rd and long. When do turnovers come? When you're pressing.
Right.
Cincinnati trying to get back in the game. They take a deep shot. Isaiah Rodgers there to tip the ball to C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Then real desperation later in the game. Mike Gesicki trying to get extra yardage. Zach Bond peanut punches it out of there.
Great play by
You're
Bond.
earning your right to get those turnovers. And they finally created some. Just really impressive performance from the defense, which is getting better and better and better. Even though people will point to some of the disappointments. I mean, I don't know. I'm in the who cares category. I don't care how many reps people get. Are you effective defensively? And recently, the Eagles have been very effective defensively.
No doubt. All those young guys really stepping up. Let's go to Cooper DeJean, John. He's really impressive to me. Now, I don't know if I'm drinking the Cooper DeJean Kool-Aid too early, but boy, I watched that guy out there and I can just see it through the screen. I'm like, that guy is a difference maker. I mean, that 4th down stop on Jamar Chase, not an easy guy to tackle, particularly. He made it look easy, that's for sure. I think he's a really special player. He had a chance at a pick yesterday, dropped it. Him and Quignon both coming close on their interceptions, but really impressive from Cooper DeJean, from my opinion. What did you see from Cooper?
Yeah, he's been great. I mean, he's the splashy change they've made at the bye week, and everybody sees it, and everybody sees how athletic he is. And all of that is true. I'm a little surprised that he's been as good in coverage as he's been. Now he made the mistake on that 3rd and 22 that enabled Cincinnati to extend the drive. I think Gesicki caught it for like 24 yards. Burrow extend and play.
I really thought that was more of a Burrow magic than anything. But
yeah, well, it was, but he was the guy who peeled off Gesicki or I don't even know if it was Gesicki, but he was the guy who sort of chased Burrow, and probably should have stayed in coverage. But when you talk about how he's played overall, really impressive, really impressive. And we showed it in that final preseason game that he has the athleticism to make a difference off the slot when it comes to run blitzes, which Vic wants to do. Same thing, obviously, the rare times he does blitz, he's got that ability. And he's learning. He didn't play much inside at Iowa, so he's learning the position. I'm surprised more people haven't tried to take advantage of that, but he's so athletic, it's tough to take advantage of it.
No doubt, John. How about that defensive line yesterday? What'd you see? Did anybody stick out to you? I still say this, not to be negative here, but I do think Bryce Huff is still struggling. I don't see it yet from him as a $17 million, 10-plus sack a year guy. I don't know if he's just kind of hidden in a game like that, but I thought overall the defensive line had a good game. They moved Joe off his spot. They didn't really get the sacks, but I don't really care because it did feel like Joe was uncomfortable at times back there. What'd you see from the D-line yesterday?
Yeah, the ball was coming out. And so, when you have a smart quarterback, you're not going to get sacks,
Right.
Typically. Unless they're, trying to hold on to the ball late in the game and they didn't get sacks. But who cares? I mean, they held the Cincinnati Bengals to under 300 yards. Again, that's maybe there's so many overrated statistics in football, but maybe sacks are the most overrated. I just don't care about him. I just don't. All comes from Chris Long. He's like, and Chris Long is a pass rusher, and he was the one who told me, look,
Right.
sometimes it's not even your sack. It's like You get pressure up the middle. He was talking about Fletch at the time, and you run right into one. It's like, great, you get a sack. Now, the difficulty that the NFL and the NFL is dumb in that regard is they pay guys who get sacks. Now, there's certain guys, obviously, TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, on and on, Nick Bosa. Those guys get such consistent pressure that they're going to get a lot of sacks no matter what. But you see that. You see that. For the Eagles, they don't have that type of player. They never did. They were never going to have that type of player. It would be nice to have that type of player. But you can get by with what they have, and they're getting by well with what they have.
No doubt about it. Got 2 super chats we'll read before we get to our man, Jeff Kerr. And speaking of Jeff Kerr, I want to give a shout out to him right now because I'm going to read these stats to you, John. And he just tweeted this up, and Jeff is one of the best in the business at doing this. Jalen Hurts, a lot of criticism for the middle of the field in the last couple of weeks, from me included. So I will eat my crow crispy today on this. Jalen Hurts attempted 6 passes in the middle of the field against the Bengals, 6 of 6, 102 yards with a touchdown and a perfect passer rating of 158.3. That's from our main man, Jeff Kerr from CBS. Very impressive as Jalen Hurts quietly dispels any narrative that is building against him, John McMullen.
Well, I don't know if he dispelled it, but it's kind of proof that, hey, maybe you should throw the ball over in the middle of the field. I mean, I think he had 4 completions over the middle of the field before yesterday. So is that a narrative? Take it up with next gen stats.
Well,
Is
I
he
thought it
going
was
to
good
do
to
it
see him yesterday
consistently?
do it. I mean, look, he had a long third down. He went over the middle of the field yesterday. The slant to AJ was there on that long 20-plus yard gain. I think it was a 29-yard gain there. So I liked what I saw from him yesterday. Let's get to 2 super chats, and then we'll get to our break and get to Jeff Kerr coming up next. Brian Garner checks in. Complete game, no turnovers, no sacks, and efficient with the explosive plays and matriculating down the field. I like that word there, Brian. Cooper communicating to the linebackers and DBs, passing off coverage is refreshing. I will say it does look like they're communicating better back there, and that's a big part of Fangio's defense. John, your response to Brian.
Brett Johnson, baby. No sacks against Trey Hendrickson.
Yeah.
If you would have told me that before the game, I would have said, yeah, Eagles are going to win. I got to watch the game again, but I was so impressed with Brett Johnson. I really was.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He was really good yesterday. I mean, look, anytime you hold Trey to a nothing burger, Hendrickson, who's a pretty premier pass rusher, obviously, good day for the left tackle, the backup left tackle, Fred Johnson. Trucker Beans checks in. Brian, by the way, thank you for the $10, man. And Trucker, thank you for the $5. Hurts plays well against conservative defenses. What is it that Vic does in the second half of games? My goodness, Trucker Beans, loving what he sees from the defense. Your response to Trucker there, John McMullen.
Well, with Vic, I mean, he's seen it all. So that's the advantage that he has generally. So he generally gets to adjustments a little bit quicker than I think most of his acolytes or plus he doesn't share information with them. But so he's really good. And remember that when they have a bad game, because it's probably on the players, it's probably not on Vic, but I digress. Because he knows what to do. Now, again, it's up to the players to execute it on the field, and they're doing a good job with it. And when you have, I'll be honest with you, I was scared to death thinking about playing 2 rookies in this defensive scheme because of the communication issues. And Quinyon and Cooper to this point have handled it very, very well. So give them a ton of credit as well. But yeah, what was the other part? Vic's great. Everybody.
Hurts plays well against conservative defenses was the other part.
Yeah, I don't know about that because sometimes it really is a week to week league. And I know that's a cliche, but when he's making definitive decisions, he plays well. And when he's playing with confidence, he plays well. He gets in trouble when he's overthinking, when he's holding on to the football. And in general, if you're going to say, well, conservative defense may make you hold on to the football a little bit longer because it's a lot of zone. I assume is what he's talking about. So yeah, I don't necessarily believe that. Now, he struggled against the blitz in the past, particularly against good blitzing teams. Against good blitzing teams, he struggled. Todd Bowles when Tampa Bay is healthy, and they have a disciplined plan. They try to flush him left. Against bad blitzing teams, anybody can blitz. Week 2 against Minnesota with Flores, when he was just trying to get that team up to speed, they were a bad blitzing team, and he ate them for lunch. So it depends, and usually it depends on, all right, well, if you have a good defense, you're going to struggle more than you have a bad defense, which is common sense.
No doubt. Good day yesterday for the Birds. They moved to 5-2 on the year and really finding some rhythm. 3 straight games, no turnovers for the quarterback. He's shown up in a big way. Looked really good yesterday, so great stuff. Let's get to our commercial break. Jeff Kerr from CBS Sports coming up next here on Birds 365. I want to thank everybody for being here this morning. Got a lot of people in the chat. Appreciate all of you guys. Hit that like button this morning. Big win for our Philadelphia Eagles yesterday. Let's get to our commercial break. Before I do that, let me tell you about the great people at BetUS. Go check out BetUS. Everybody, you see I put on the screen there the promo code. Use that promo code YouTube150 when you're looking to bet on the NFL or any sporting event out there. Gives you 150% sign-up bonus on your very first deposit, and you get 125% on your second and third deposit. So go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. They have the fastest payouts in the industry. 24/7 customer support, and they'll even give you your own custom account manager. So go check out BetUS today, and big thanks to them for sponsoring the show today. We'll be back in 3 minutes on Birds 365.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.